Good day. Welcome back to another episode of the Truck Focus podcast. Josh Hannabury here. I'm one of your hosts. On today's episode, I'm super excited to have someone that I really respect join the show, Bruce Outridge. So Bruce is the definition, in my humble opinion, of an industry legend and advocate. He's just all over the place, which is exciting, from podcasting to speaking to artwork, just different influences with youth, with musicians. It's really inspiring. So in today's episode, Bruce does a really good job just kind of outlining his story. He does a great job talking about our industry, the pros and the cons, where's kind of really improved over the last few years, but also things that haven't improved. That's from an industry standpoint, what carriers are doing right, what carriers can do better, different aspects of drivers, as well as just this community impact. So I'm really excited for this episode. One of the highlights about Bruce personally is his own podcast. He's a legend in this space. So it's the podcast itself is called the Lead Pedal Podcast. So you can check that out just by visiting www.pedalpodcast.com. Highly recommend you check it out. Well, let's get to it. Hey, welcome, Bruce. Thank you so much for coming to the podcast today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Josh. I appreciate it. It's fun to be on your show.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm, without being a fanboy, I'm a big fan. So this is an honor.
Thank you very much. And I'm excited seeing what you're doing to give it back. I like the take of having your son on there. I think that is a really cool take. I hope you go in that direction with it for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah, Avery, he is sleeping right now, but he'll join it.
Lucky he's not at my house, because he would have been up at 5 a.m. preparing show notes. No, I've been known as it.
That's awesome. Okay, so I know a lot of people in the Canadian trucking industry know who Bruce is, but why don't you kind of give us a little bit of a backstory? Who's Bruce, and how did you get involved in the transportation industry?
Okay, so the 4-hour version is no, we won't do that. So I am the statistic, which everybody thinks I should be in jail or homeless or something like that. I'm the high school dropout at 17, got into trucking at 17 by just getting a job with the van lines, moving people's furniture in and out of their house, and got my licenses through there, and 25 years behind the wheel, as they say, running all across North America, mostly in the hazmat industry. That was most of my career, finishing up as a supervisor of a fleet with 2 locations, and then getting into training and broadcasting and media and all the things that you're finding out about that we somehow just gravitate to over time. And it's been a wonderful journey, and I love transportation. I've been out of the seat 14 years now, and I'm kind of getting that itch to I just don't have any time in my schedule. I'm going, where can I drive for like half a day?
Yes. Yes.
No half a day drop anywhere in trucking, but I'm trying to find that.
Funny, you see the memes, the 40-hour work week. Oh, that's cute. That's my Wednesday. And
it's true. And I'm sure you know, right? You're in this space, and I don't know why people are going, oh, trucking, we take too long. We're gone away from home. I don't know. I could be home, but I'm still not working any less. Like, I'm up at 5, 6 o'clock every morning, and I seem to work until around 7, 8 o'clock at night, and I go to bed by 10. So I'm not sure where I'm saving all of this time, other than I can golf Wednesday afternoons if I want, but I still need to do that work on the weekend. People don't see the treadmill underneath. They see you playing golf. They see you going to events. They don't see Sunday mornings when everybody else is relaxing. I'm trying to get podcast episodes, uploaded or whatever,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, I've been navigating that challenge and texting friends or neglecting to text friends, because you're like, I just got to stay in the zone. Like, this has to be. And so I understand that very well. So you said about 14 years from the last time you were officially driving. What kind of led to the shift, I guess, the change from being behind the wheel to getting more into management?
I actually thought I wanted to get into management. I don't know why, but when I started my career, for some reason, and anybody that I just turned 58 this week. So as you
Happy
get
birthday.
older, thank you. As you get older, time doesn't move as fast. But when you're 20, 25 years in any career seems like a long, like you're going to be old when you get out of there, right? Like, it's like you're going right from driving to retirement. As you go through, you realize 25 years is not that. That's like one step of our career. I'm sure we've all experienced that. But for some reason, I had in my mind, for no other reason than just that I didn't know anything about trucking, that 25 years would be long enough driving. Now, I didn't do any planning. I enjoyed driving. I didn't plan on getting out of the seat. But things just happened. And at 43, which is about 2 years before that 25, I drove for 25, but then 2 years before that, I started kind of getting into management, dispatching and all that kind of stuff, and ended up being a supervisor. Thought that's where I wanted to go, that I wanted to go down the supervisor route. And if you've ever worked in the management, there's certain areas of management, and I found that I don't want to be in management. I was working I don't know how many hours. If I took, if we took a vacation, I was in the office till midnight trying to finish up. And I don't know whether it's just me or if it's the way that the office worked, but I didn't enjoy it the way I thought. I was planning on being in charge of all the fleet of our Canadian operations, and ended up getting out of that just way too stressed. The doctor said I would have had a heart attack if I was there. I'd had a couple, health was declining, if you will. And I just made this switch, and I said, you know what, I got to do something. And it wasn't planned switch, but I'm sure glad I made it.
Powerful. Yeah, I think intentionality is key, but also work ethic. You mentioned a couple of things, sorry, as I'm reflecting, and I think that's one of the greatest things about trucking is intentionality, where you can start, quote unquote, in whatever role that's the starter role, and you can make intentional decisions to move up like you did. But it's also nice that you're able to say, whoa, this is too much. And you made another pivotal shift. So I think that's super powerful. And yeah, I didn't drive for 25 years. I was only maybe 6 or 7 years before I started feeling, aside from my journey is a little different, but aside from the feeling of, like I have different skill sets and I don't want this just to be my career. I wanted to expand. But yeah, I think just being the fact that you know what it's like to work a 14-hour day, that you don't forget that. Like, so once you get into management and obviously your life now where it's even more, that's super powerful.
Yeah, I had a basic thing that said, and it's underlying, and it can sound like I have, I've got to be careful because people think, wow, you had your whole life. I did not have any of this planned out. I was not planning on being a podcaster. I was kind of wanted to be in management, but that was not, this big thing. At 40, I started asking around the office, hey, what course do you have to take because I was the high school dropout. I went back at 40 to get my grade 12. So I'm no superstar by any means, but I felt that there was more to it, that I wanted to do something more outside of the truck. And there's nothing, I think if I had stayed in the truck and not pursued I would still be in the truck today. I want to get it clear. I absolutely love driving, still love the trucks and the chrome and all of that stuff. Drove all the big Peterbilts, still love all that stuff. But I felt there was something more that I wanted to pursue. And when I got there, I found out, like most people that you'll find are entrepreneurs now and were in corporate before, they go, that's not what I thought it was going to be. It sounds good. There was some perks, like going to a hockey game or nice lunches or whatever, being taken out by suppliers. But there was a lot of work and a lot of dealing with team members and stress. And, when I looked at it, I go, this isn't really where I want to go. And I don't think I'm going to, I don't know what the future retail, but I said I'm going to start an art business, which is always impressive.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Everybody's going, yeah, you go do that. You're going to make the same money as like a lawyer.
That's hilarious.
But it's fun. But I tell you, the real thing is, I figured out that if I could work that hard, because like you just said, the work ethics, I got that from my dad. It's always been at the forefront. If I could work that hard for somebody else, if I was to put in that much hours for myself, where would I be? Right. Here's where I am. And so that was the underlying message. But I still loved it. I was working with a great company. I just don't think I was prepared for management. I tell people now I'm a great entrepreneur. I'm a terrible manager. I expect people to do their jobs. That's kind of how this works. I don't have time for babysitting. I don't love that stuff. I love let's create, let's try something new. Let's find a way of getting out there, whatever it is. That's where I seem to have my forefront.
Yeah, and you do phenomenal at it too. I think that's one of the things. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's enough negativity in the industry, and you're definitely a leader of a positive just outlook. And yeah, if it's from Chrome to drivers to carriers to just operational improvements, you do a really, really good job highlighting that.
Great,
and yeah, absolutely. And it's cool. So I've been studying you more intentionally lately.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I fell asleep a couple of times.
Yeah, I would have too. My wife is sick of hearing that.
But I think so. I'm really big into the personal development space. And one thing that so I had a coach a handful of years ago that he would always talk about a terror barrier, where you're on a cliff and the only way to make it is by jumping. And yeah, again, just to highlight you, which I'm really all about, when you're talking about your art business, that was a terror barrier moment where you jumped. And then podcasting, like, it's funny. So Avery's not on right now, but those that listen repeatedly know who Avery is. And I remember the first time, so he was sitting right here beside me and we were just sweating and we were like, what do we say? What do we do? This, like, it was just so bad. And yeah, well, I don't know how many, are you into 1,000s for episode count?
No, we're at, I think, 678 at the time we're doing this podcast.
Incredible. Yeah.
But I sweated just like, don't make that I don't want you to think I'm any better. That I did all the same things you did. I'm wondering who the heck is listening on the other end. Trust me. My wife said, who are you talking to? I said, nobody. I got like a mic. That's it, right?
My wife literally said the same thing. She's like, you're nuts. And I'm like, okay, good. Will it help people, though? That's the objective. Will it help?
It's working. Yeah, I think if your heart's in the right way, then it will work. It will work.
Totally agree. So with all your experience in industry, do you think our industry is going in the right direction from, say, 10 years ago? And that could be I know it's a broad question.
Yeah.
Do you feel the energy, the effort, the safety, the telematics, all that stuff, is it going in the right direction, or what's your thoughts?
It's mixed, to be honest with you, because there are parts that are going in the right direction and there are parts that I think are kind of going the wrong direction. We're an industry, and I am old school trucking, if you will. I mean, I started driving in 1981 is when I got my tractor trailer license. I drove straight truck for a couple of years before that. So if you think of, the beginning of the 80s to now, how much our industry has changed, I'm still a lover of cab overs. I saw one the other day. I went just nuts. It was at the corner. It's like, hey, look at that freight shaker cab over. My wife's going, what? but I still, we had a lot of fun those days. And so the things that I think are improving, to answer your question, technology, certainly, like, holy smokes, you don't even have to read a map. And actually, I got an episode coming up on should you still be reading maps? And because I'm in training now, I do training for a lot of the truck driving schools here in Ontario on a kind of part-time basis for them, or whenever I'm available. And I still think maps are important. And I still teach that now, whether they are or not. So, but the technology certainly can take us. Some of the things that I see that technology can do, I mean, it almost like they made trucking so easy. You don't have to find a phone booth in New Jersey at 4 p.m. You don't have to read a map. You don't have to try and figure out your miles. We used to have to call dispatch and go, okay, I think I have 6 hours left for tomorrow. That's how they were basing their dispatch, on what you told them 4 o'clock the night before. So it's things like that you don't have to worry about anymore. ELDs and all that stuff took a lot of that away. So technology is great. Safety certainly improved. Some of the technology I've seen to stop rollovers and ABS and all of that stuff. So the technology is good, yet we still have the same problems. We still have the same problems with wheel offs. We still have the same problems with brake adjustment. We still, why have we not got it on the dash that somehow it tells you what all your brake adjustments are without leaving the truck? Like, why have we not developed that software? We got everything else. Like, I mean, you could punch a code and get a tow truck to you in 15 minutes, but we can't tell if our brakes are adjusted without getting underneath there and hoping somebody's there. There's a lot to learn. So I think that part is the same. And then where I think we've lost is the fun factor. There used to be some camaraderie on the road. The truck stops, like, I still have best friends to this day that were in trucking, that I met in trucking early on. And I don't hear about that anymore. There's no camaraderie. Everybody stays to themselves. And I know COVID has kind of brought that in even more, but even before COVID, there doesn't seem to be a lot of fun. All the trucks are the same. There's nothing really crazy. When I was coming up, that's how you knew you were moving up in your industry. You got a nicer truck, you got better runs, whatever it might be. You never got paid more, but those things came up to more opportunities. And I call that the top 20% of the fleet, where you get opportunities like that actually improve your career. I don't see that anymore. And do our young people coming in, they don't see that. They go, okay, so we're just going to drive for 100 years. They're going to be like me. And I go, I don't know what I'm going to do after that, but I'm getting out of the truck at some point. We haven't shown them that you can do what you and I are doing and getting into safety and all of these different areas of trucking, which once you're in, you start realizing where they are. We're not showing anybody other than the seat coming in.
Yeah.
And nobody seems to want that. So, plus, we've got a whole population. If you think of what a truck driver is, it's the person who did not want to go to school, did not want to have someone looking over their shoulder, wanted that freedom of the road. All of those things, we have basically taken them away with all of the regulations to where we're going to tell you when to sleep. We're going to tell you when to eat. We're going to tell you that you're eating at McDonald's or somewhere else because we took away the beautiful family restaurant that used to be there. That, I think, has hurt trucking to where this is not really where anybody wants to go anymore. And it's sad because it's such an awesome industry. As you know, how do we show that? I know you and I are trying to show that through our media and stuff like that, but how do we show it? Is it getting out there to where we can do that?
That's some powerful points. And I think freedom is a big word. And last episode, we talked about Les Mann. So when I joined the Lead Pedal podcast, so Les recently joined Avery and I again, and that was one of the things that he spoke on, as well as another gentleman named Roy, is the freedom to choose and not have someone hovering. And I think you're right. When, like, I'm all for regulation, I'm all for operating within the boundaries of compliance, but I think it's different when you're behind the wheel versus in a desk, or if you're in a pickup truck. So I think those are super important to keep in mind, is the freedom of industry. And it's funny when you're talking about maps, I entered industry right when Maps and Garmin were competing, and trying to find job sites. Could I go to the southeast corner on this part? Trying to figure that out on a map when I didn't carry a compass. I'm like, you want me to go where? Where now, yeah, obviously it's a little different, but yeah, I remember swearing and sweating. I don't know how many times. Just
did you ever run the U.S.? I know. You
only Canada.
We've had you on. Did you run U.S. with your trucking career?
No, only Western Canada.
Okay, yeah. So for those who have run the U.S., the interstate system down there is second to none when it comes to the way they organized it, as far as east and west highways, north and south, the numbering system, all of that works. I learned that system because that's where I was thrown into when I went. And when you remember that, and when you learn that, you don't need the GPS or the thing as much as you start learning these directions. And I think we actually need to have that still, because when your technology goes down, what are you going to do, right? Like this, it still happens where your truck could go down.
Yeah, I know, you're absolutely right. And it's funny. So in wherever I've driven, it would go from a name, so an Anthony to a Tony to a 3 Street back to an Anthony, and you're like, where? Yeah, very. I'm not going to bash Canadian infrastructure, but it is nowhere in the trucking game than stateside. Like, just very, very different. And
they tried, but they didn't do a good job. But I mean, if you tell a tow truck that I'm in North Carolina, Interstate 95 northbound at mile marker 5, he does not need a map to find you. They will get you there. That is the cool thing that I already know. You know, someone says, "Oh, I'm going northbound on Interstate 90." No, you're not. It only goes east and west. There's no way you can be going northbound. So it's those kind of things that automatically help you and tell you. I'm back at the time when we had to write, as we crossed the border of each state, we had to write the mileage down on a little pad of paper or something while you're going down the road, but that helped you realize how far things are. I think that's part of the problem. We had to call our customers when dispatch they'd give you the phone number, the name, your pickup number, what you're picking up. That's all you got. And you had to call the customer and say, listen, I'm coming in on Highway 20, 5 miles away and getting off this. You had to know that so that you can call them so they can tell you how long you're going to be there. And I don't think GPS allow people to do that anymore. They now just plug it in and they go, and they don't really plan their trip. That's what I see as part of the problem. They're not planning the trip, minimizing those delays, which is actually what makes you money in this industry.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the pressure is on the opposite. Here's my GPS tracking, you track your load, versus the opposite. Here, I'm going to tell you this is where. So yeah, I agree. And those are good perspectives, because I don't think in that space often enough, but I I appreciate your guidance
Yeah.
and your wisdom in this space.
I'm not saying GPS is bad. I use it too, but use it as a secondary, not a primary. And that's what we got to flip, I think, right?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so staying kind of in the topic of industry, when you're working with carriers, what do you think the really good carriers are doing that the not so good carriers aren't doing? And this could be high level. I know it could be a 4-hour conversation.
No, and it really depends on the carrier and the size of the carrier, but more importantly, it depends on the driver and what they are looking for. Because you've had some amazing people. I know you've had Shelley Vanel Hesh and Leslie and all of those people on your show that can tell you that every carrier or point in your life is different. So the carrier I'm looking for today may not be the carrier. One of the reasons I went from a ma and pa carrier to a global carrier, and it was a private company, so it's maybe not somebody everybody would know in transportation, was for the opportunities. So from a private carrier or a small carrier, you get those custom trucks, you get some kind of custom loads. You may work a little harder, but you're also going to you're going to learn some things that you may not learn at a traditional large carrier, shall we say, because they're going to train you one way and keep you on one style of load until you're ready to move. Whereas a small carrier, I learned flatbed, I've hauled steel, I've hauled refrigerated, I've hauled everything at one carrier. Maybe not a lot, but they mixed it around. So some carriers are doing that great. And that is where I think if that's the type of work and environment that you want, then that's great. They may not be doing the training as well, but they are certainly doing some of those other factors, which is appealing to I'm going to just say us old school truckers who wanted a Peterbilt and the fancier trucks and stuff. Whereas you go to the other side, where you go to a large carrier, the Bisons, Challengers of the world, they are doing great jobs as far as not only safety and technology, offering you some career opportunities. And that's why I went to a carrier. The carrier I went to was a global company, but small carrier inside. So they're a water treatment chemical company across the globe. Yet we only had 10 trucks here in Burlington. So I had both areas, but I went there because of the opportunity. When I started looking to get out of the truck, the carrier I was with treated me like gold. I had a truck that was 2 years old, better, and exactly what I wanted. I mean, they were taking me to the dealership to say, Bruce, here's your truck, leather seats, the whole bit. I had my own trailer. They kind of said, Bruce, where would you like to go? And so I had it all. And that was the problem. I was driving down the road going, what else is there? Like I'm here I am, 30 years old, and I haven't achieved everything personally in my life, but as far as all the things I want, I'm doing great. But now what? Do I just drive for another 40 years? This is what I was actually thinking going down the road. Do I just drive until I'm 65 now? I'm 30. I still have 35 years in the seat if I wanted it. Or do I move and start going into management or learning something different? The small company couldn't afford me that. They didn't have room. There was no other spots. There, all family. Everybody looked healthy. Nobody was dying soon, so I had no opportunity. As far as I knew, there was maybe 1 or 2 spots for someone outside. But a larger company allows you, like I got great training at the larger company. I could see different avenues of going, okay, maybe I want to get into operations and start moving that way, or training or what have you. All the skills I'm using today came from that large operation, if you will, as far as the training end and the media end and the technology. The driving stuff that I really remember and still keep dear in my heart came from the smaller carrier. So it all depends on what a person's looking for. And now we've got an age group of 55 in this industry roughly that are going, okay, I've been driving for what's next? And they're either staying until they're 65, and as things get worse, they're going, you know what? I'm not dealing with it anymore. I've been doing it this way for 30 years. But if they don't keep up with the technology, they don't have what they need to go to the next step. So I'm always big on people just keep learning and educating yourself. That is the biggest thing you could do for yourself.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, when I used to own a small trucking outfit in Kelowna, where I'm from, and I think from a driver's perspective, witnessing that, you see, there was myself and I had a business partner. We did everything. And then they did everything from, like you mentioned, like anything that you could haul, perfect. Like our motto was, if it fit, we'll haul it. Yeah. And we didn't know what legal meant. We were just, okay, it fits. And yeah, so from a smaller standpoint, I think that's right. But when you get into a larger environment and you get to see people excelling, and it's not just, well, every day is crazy, but it's a controlled chaos. I think that also is attractive. So yeah, those are some really good points. And then, yeah, there's pros and cons, I think, to both corporate life and small mom and pop. And I remember when I went from working in a small oil field company to a large equipment hauler, what's training?
Yeah.
Like, what is this course you're putting me through? Like, and that's what kind of opened my eyes, more of a safety focus. Like, that's when I started shifting into the safety realm is, wow, there's dedicated training courses on loading procedures to cargo securement to like equipment operating. Like, this is awesome. And then, yeah, you kind of find what gets you excited. And that's for me, definitely where I like to sit. But yeah, those are really good points. So from
private carriers, I just want to add this because private carriers, a place like a large carrier like a Bison or a Challenger, somebody is going to focus on cargo securement. That's the training they offer their people. What really needs to happen though is they need to take that training and offer it outside of trucking. So our private carrier that I worked for was really big on customer service. Like, we were in uniforms, we were the face of the company. So they gave us a lot of customer service training, not just how to transfer chemicals, but how to deal with the customer. How we had to do things like inspections. For the salespeople they would sell and say, yeah, tractor trailer can fit here. You can get there to be all kinds of low pipes because we weren't in docks. We were in weird spots. So we actually had this thing where we had a checklist, go do what we called an inspection, and we could say no. We could say no to $1 million account based on what we thought as truck drivers, and that really opens your eyes to say, you know what, we do have this impact and experience that is really, because they were selling stuff and couldn't get a truck in there. And so we said, no, you can't do this, can't do this, can't do this. You didn't want to cancel it because that's our work and our job, but it gave you the power to say, we are with everybody else. Like, without us, you can't do what your job. And it makes you work as a team. And even when I became a supervisor there, we had things like performance appraisals. I don't know if you've ever been through one, but they never had those when I was driving until I went to this company. We had performance appraisals. And I said to them, I'd like to take a course every year. I'd like you to pay for it. And it was not, load securement. It was how to deal with people or whatever. I could pick a course and they would send me for the day, whatever it was. And I took a variety of courses and I still use that stuff today. So this is the power. And I think the big companies are offering that and being able to say, where would you like to go? Oh, you want to go into operations? Okay, you need to have this training. Or you want to be a dispatcher? You better have some people training. It's not just about you telling them how to get there or where to go. And I think if companies offer more of that, it's going to make their employees a little more rounded to where they go, okay, we do have load securement, but I also have this, and maybe let the employee choose. Because a lot of us think, okay, we're going to have 2 safety meetings a year. They're going to be defensive driving, load securement, whatever, logbooks, hours, you go whatever you want. If I've been driving 30 years, do you think I'm still listening to that? Even I'm not saying I don't need it, but am I still listening to that? Or what if you brought in a comedian who talks about how to deal with reception, or receivers and shippers, and kind of make it funny, but give them some skill tips outside of the truck that they could still use on their job? You're going to see some amazing opportunities for people that go, I like doing that.
Totally agree. Yeah. And I think that's a couple of things. So one, that's retention, because when people feel valued, they'll stay, in my experience. And I know there's a lot more to it, but I think investing into people, like you said, I want to do a course a year, let's do it. And you're going home, okay. And then once you're done that course, that shift that's happening in you doesn't go away, that hunger for knowledge. But yeah, if it's a different environment, I think this is a shout out to smaller carriers too. Your drivers are your sales force. Yep. So you're a billboard going down the road, but you're also the vocal point at customers, like you said, shippers, receivers, receptions, safety managers. And when you empower your people through knowledge and through encouragement, it's shocking the different contracts that you get. Like when I was my sales guy in this region's best friend, because I would identify sales leads all the time. Yep. And then I would do it. I liked it because I like seeing that kind of stuff, but also he would reward me for it. So you're like, oh, okay, this is a mutual beneficial relationship. But yeah, for smaller carriers wondering, how do you grow? You have assets that aren't just meat in the seat. Like, I hate that expression, but I hear it all the time. But yeah, that's.
Give your driver some business cards. Here's what I did. My boss used to give me 2 or 3 business cards. Not that I was out and I had nothing to do with sales. But how many drivers are standing in a shipper's office and the shipper's going, I got 6 more loads here for Alabama, and I don't know who I'm going to call. How many drivers have said, we cover Alabama, and possibly say, look, here's my boss's card, give him a call. Maybe he can get 2 more trucks for you or whatever. We actually sold that way. Now we wouldn't give it to every driver, but there's a lot of drivers in every fleet that are not pro company, but they're being treated well. They're happy. They've got nice trucks. They know to show up looking professional.
Yes.
Have you given them some business cards that they can just hand out to a shipper and say, you know what, we also cover the East Coast? Not that you have to do it, but that also gives you some skills. And if the contract does come through, usually the boss is the first to say, you know what, Bruce, you're the one who brought us that. You haul that load first. Let us know how it works out. And there's lots of ways of getting opportunity in this industry that you would never see anywhere else. But I can tell you that if drivers are not talking to you about their careers, they're doing something. There's always somebody who's doing an MBA on the background that nobody else knows, and all of a sudden they quit. Now they're the boss, whatever. There's drivers who are bored. If they've been driving for 10 years or more at your company and have not mentioned what they're going to do in the future, or you've not brought it up as an operations manager, you better start talking to them, because I can tell you one day they're going to up and quick and say, well, I started a business 6 years ago, and now it's at that point where I can move on, or there's people who go, I don't see the opportunity. This is the one thing I did wrong. I did not see the opportunity. I actually still to this day, and I still got a good relationship with that carrier, but my one regret is that I did not go in and talk to them and say, listen, I love working here, but I don't see any opportunity. My kids were young at the time. So of course, you want to stay home a little bit. And I'm going, I don't see that. I was running in Florida, Texas, East Coast 3 times a week. I said, I don't see where I could get out of the seat. Now, maybe there was an opportunity and I didn't see it. And that's where I went wrong by not going to talk to them. I switched jobs and they were not very happy because there was 3 of us that all switched jobs at the same time to a new carrier. And it was not good because we were all really good drivers. So you need to be talking to your employees, and not just about load securement and not just about when things are bad, but bringing them in. If a company's not doing performance appraisals, to me, they're missing I know they sound canned and all that, but that's an opportunity to talk one-on-one with your drivers and say, how's things going and what are you looking for? Maybe that company has those opportunities. How many drivers do we know that are amazing photographers? Has anyone said, hey, you know what, you'd work in our marketing department? No, because they don't even know they take pictures yet. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, no, you're bang on. And I think that's the too busy excuse that carry, and I can live in that space all day long. But I think, when you're intentional, and we remember we're all humans, we all have a heartbeat, we all care about stuff outside of our quote unquote job. I think that's when, opportunity comes, problem solving comes, and they could share advice to you. Like, where can I get better as a leader or as a company? And again, it's just removing the just factor. Like, they're not just drivers. We're not just our jobs, and allowing ourselves just to be in that space.
How many companies are raising pay? We haven't even talked about money. How many companies are raising pay thinking that's the answer? It's not the answer. That's not what they want. If you look at why people leave jobs, it's got nothing to do with that half the time. Most of the time, it's either they don't like their manager or they are bored or something along that line. It's a lot of time not for money. We keep raising pay thinking, okay, they're going to be attracted by money. That might get you more attraction at the beginning, but it doesn't keep you there for the long term, right?
The carrot in front of the horse trick. I think that, especially, I'm a millennial, so I'll speak on behalf of millennials.
Okay.
Anyone listen? It doesn't work. Sure, it's nice. Like, me and my wife, obviously we're mindful of money and we got budgets and stuff, but that's the last thing that we talk about at night is like, oh, they're dabbling 50 cents X or whatever. It's like, no, it's how do they make you feel? Because if you treat someone really good throughout the day and they go home, how do you think they're going to treat their families? How do you think they're going to feel about themselves? And I read a study, because I'm really big in that space on, like I said, personal development and stuff. And I read a study on this massive website company out in Australia where Fridays, I think it was Friday after lunchtime, literally was designated to creation. And basically whatever was created, if possible, it'd be implemented to current customers. And that was their boom moment. They said once they implemented that and people felt valued and they were expressive, it was shocking. And it had nothing to do with money, because it was just, what can you do? What can you create? What problems can you solve? And I think that's neat. So At what point then, Bruce, I know we're just mindful of time too, and I really want to talk about your podcast, but your public speaking, your art, you actually have a few podcasts.
Yeah.
How did
I get there?
Yeah, it's impressive. And honestly, like, I'm going to have like this, for anyone that's watching this on YouTube, I'll describe my fingers as probably, I don't know, 18 inches of links, because you're all over the map. You're impacting, you're speaking. Like, how's that go?
Yeah, how is that going is the question. I don't know. I'm a creative monster, and I don't mean to be, and I don't do it to, I do it to give back. When I got out of the company, when I was the supervisor and decided I was going to start my own business, I actually started my art business. So I was doing illustration for of trucks and magazine articles and stuff like that. And I thought I would get into that because I already have the knowledge of the trucks. I already have the talent for the art. You know what? Everybody went digital at the same time. Nobody needed me at all. I actually almost starved right off the bat. So I started teaching art. That's, because that's what I was doing. So I started teaching art, and now it's moved into caricatures and stuff for corporate events and weddings is what I do. But then, after a couple of years, I think I just needed a break from trucks. I think that was the real thing. So I started the art business. And after about a year in the art, I go, I got all this knowledge of trucking, and it wasn't being used because I had kind of gone off in this different way. And so I said, okay, do I start? I was going to start a YouTube channel, and I thought, okay, training and all that. And I thought, well, drivers aren't really hopefully watching video. And at the same time, video training was coming in, and I was hearing from friends of mine in the industry that, it's not really what they wanted or what have you. But so I thought, I didn't know anything about podcasts. And then I heard about podcasts and I go, there's a podcast? Like, you could actually do this while people are rolling down. And so I started getting into them, and I just love them. And I started this one as a daily show, which is not the way you're supposed to do this. I started as a daily show right out of the back. So after 100 episodes, I was almost going to quit. I didn't have all the engagement. They said you got to be careful who you listen to. You don't have all this engagement. You're not getting 20,000 comments a day, whatever it is. And I thought, no one's listening. And actually at 100, I said, you know what? I'm gonna just let this go. Nobody seems to be listening. And then I started getting engaged. I started getting comments. So I kept it going, 101. If you listen to 100, I think I turned it into a music episode because I had to somehow change it. But I was actually canceling the show. And I said, okay, I'm gonna do it once a week and then build it as it goes. So now we're up to 3 times a week. My other one is for artists and entrepreneurs. So I'm trying, a lot of people say, oh, if you're an artist, a musician, an author, you're going to be broke. I think that's hogwash. You are not going to be broke if you are willing to put in the work. And this is the thing. It's constant. So all of my stuff is basically business and careers is what it is. And it's trying to inspire people and go, you can do it. I've been drawing since I was 10 years old. Most people wouldn't know that. And I didn't take anything with me in the truck for many, many years, probably almost 18 years. I didn't draw while I was trucking because I loved it. But I wanted to be an artist. I wanted to be a cartoonist when I was 10, 12 years old. And they said, go get a real job. That's how I got into trucking. Nobody said, go look at Norman Rockwell and see how he does it, or go, all these famous Jack Kirby, go see what he's doing. Nobody said any of that. Of course, we didn't have the internet, but nobody said even go to the library and find that. They said, go get a real job. So I am all against people saying, go get a real job, because I can tell you, I know a lot of artists who are super successful at what they do. They put in the work, they treat it like a business. They're very talented. And you know what? They're doing amazing things, and they have a real job, if you want to call it that. So I don't believe anybody should, when we say what is a real job? Josh, what is a real job? We're podcasting on a Saturday. Is this a real job? I have no flipping idea. but we're doing it, and not everything I do makes money. Some things make money, some things don't make money. Some things I look at more as giving back to my community. Other things are just to inspire you. Some I put more effort in, some I put less effort in. I'm very organized. I schedule my weeks out, and that's where and you do as much as you want, as much as you're willing to do, right? That's the way it works.
It's powerful. Yeah, I think you're really good. I like the word pivotal and impact. Those are kind of my favorite words.
I think I'm spinning on a chair though.
No, I have to pick myself back up because I nod so much. But yeah, you're creating an incredible impact because, again, like, yes, I get the goal of business is money, like, well, part of, I get that. But I think it's the value add and the servanthood of industry. And it's funny when people talk about go get a real job, it's like, I think it was, well, I've seen it from Elon Musk. I don't know if he created this term, but he's like, I have when I wake up till I go to bed. He's like, some people have a 9 to 5 where that's all, the only time they're creative is in that space. He's like, I like to be creative from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep. And again, it's not always about making money, but it's about creating an impact. And like, my next question actually is going to be about your legacy. But I also like the inspiring youth. Obviously, Avery, my 11-year-old, he's an up and comer, and he's got big dreams in multiple ways like youth need to have in our world. But it kind of, can you touch on that quickly too?
The Inspiring Youth Show?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, the Inspiring, yeah. So that's a television show. You got to be in the Halton area to see it. It's on local television here in Halton. We just finished season 4, so we're going into season 5. And basically, it's the same thing, right? You know, you think of, my kids are in their 30s, you know, every once in a while you think your son's laying on the couch, you should be doing something. I've laid on a couch once or twice when I should be working, you know, those kind of things. So you think of somebody sitting there at home going, oh man, you know, I want to be a musician. Well, you could ask Bruce, but Bruce is 58 years old and, you know, he's not a musician, so I can't really help you. Go get a real job. Or you could watch the Inspiring Youth Show of some young musician who is, you know, starting out in his career and going, and he's, you know, just a few years ahead of you. And then look, here's the community partner where you can go. So if you want to be a musician, where do you start? You need to start with lessons. So if you don't know how to play a guitar, go play the guitar, and then you will learn how to be. So that's the idea of the show, is I showcase an ambitious youth in the community, and then the community partners that will work with them. And it is all just to prove to people, you know what, here's where you go get started. I think that's all people need, is go get started. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it for the rest of your life, but go try it. If that's what if you really want to be a musician. I've got a young musician that I'm doing some consulting work with. You know, we have a chat every month or something like that. And he wants to do this as a career, but he's not sure. So I'm going, okay, well, here's an idea, but I'm not a musician. So I hooked him up with, he just, I think, had a thing with Rich Redmond, the drummer for Jason Aldean. I hooked the two of them up. I said, ask Rich. I don't know. I made him read Rich's books. He's read my book. I said, go and do that. If people do that, you will make a job. It doesn't matter whether you're employed, or I think we got to get away from self-employed or employed. You know what? Just, if you're doing something you enjoy doing, and if that's driving, then awesome. Then just do it the best you can and create your life around that, if that's what you want to do. We've got a lifestyle business because my wife and I like to travel. We can do our business basically from anywhere we are. That was one of the big goals when we started it. And that's the way, but Inspiring Youth is just a way of giving back to the community. And I just want a young person to see, here's another young person that's doing it. Here's where they went to start. You do it too.
Incredible, man. Incredible.
No, but it's just giving back. I mean, think of Avery, right? I was Avery's age when I wanted to be a cartoonist. I was drawing all the time. My parents didn't even think to put me in art lessons. Not that they're bad parents, but they didn't say, Bruce, you know, you should go to art school. I hated art in school because the teacher made us do paper mache and I wanted to draw cartoons. We never had a cartooning class. Nobody said, Bruce, go and do cartooning, or Bruce, go and do this. I didn't know about art classes or anything like that. I didn't know there was an art school up the road. I didn't know there is. There's Sheridan. I didn't know that. But so you didn't look any further. You just keep drawing. And I've still got my old sketches from back in those days. If Avery was drawing all the time, you might now, because we have the internet, but would you say, Avery, why don't we look into this art? Why don't we get you some private lessons? Why don't we take a course? Why don't you see if this is where you want to go? Most parents are going, well, you're not going to make any money at art, so that's off the list. You know, let's take you over here. But that's where the kid wants to go. Yes. Can you make money with that art? Yes, you can. There's certain ways of making money. Not all artists make money, but there's lots of artists that are making money. What are they doing to make money? I probably make more at a wedding than you do. Well, not you, but you know, someone does all week driving a truck.
Powerful.
So don't tell me artists can't. Now, I could decide, do I want to do one wedding, or do I want to do 100 weddings, or do I not want to do any weddings? I'm not saying it's easy. You have to build that talent, but you can't say that someone's not making money because they're an artist. They can if they want to. And if you find someone who's doing that, you will do it. So nothing's off the table. my kids say, you want to dig ditches? Awesome. Dig the best ditch you can, be the ditch guy,
Yes.
you know, whatever.
Yes.
And just do it well, be professional, have a shovel, have a pickup truck, whatever it is you need to dig ditches, and go for it. But don't whine and go, well, you know, that's only digging it. Like, it's all hard work. No matter what you're doing, it's all hard work.
Totally. Yeah, no, that's inspiring. And I wish we lived in Ontario, because I'd be like, Avery, go get anytime. I got a room for you.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
He's learning how to code. He built his own video game, and
cool.
Again, a brag moment because I'm his dad, but
yep.
Just watching him, he's really fast at processing, and he's natural at a lot of things. Can't say he's the greatest at everything, but he's really natural when it comes to artistic stuff, math, science, those type of things. But he loves I think it's the patterns of coding. But yeah, we bought him this course. Oh, I don't know. He built it within like 2 or 3 months of this like real active. It's like a mini version of Sonic video game. And you're kind of like, well, it's powerful. But yeah, no, I think what you're doing, Bruce, is incredible. So
that's great. That's great. I hope you're using that, because you're ahead of everybody. If you got that kind of talent sitting in your room, you're not making video games out of your podcast or something along that line. You're losing it, because that's what you got to do. You got to show them, okay, now that you've learned it, how do I use it? Here's where we might use it. You know, is he doing your website? I don't know what, you know, but how can you use that for the future? And that's where it now shows him, here's some career options as well. Because it's cool to learn coding, but if you don't know what to do with it once you've learned it, you're kind of out of luck, right? So
yeah, no, I agree. And yeah, that's kind of where I had to take a step back because he was so involved. But yeah, so I guess you talk a lot about impact and talk about a little Value, and anyone that hasn't heard Bruce's name, which is probably not that, it's probably a small number. You need to. Bruce, just again, you inspire me, and that's not just fluff, that's accuracy. So just kind of as we come to a close, a couple things is, what do you want your legacy to be, and how do people get in contact with you?
As far as the trucking, probably to get in contact with me, just go to the leadpedalpodcast.com. That's probably the easy way, and there's links all of there. I've got so many links. If you search my name, you'll find me. The podcast is probably easy, and lead is L-E-A-D. Yes, I know it's a play on words. Don't tell me I've spelled it wrong. We did on purpose, because it's supposed to be leadership in a way. So that's why we did that. But as far as legacy, I don't think about that kind of stuff. If I've inspired people now, that's where it's important. If I inspire people later, awesome. But I'm not like trying to make all of this stuff and sell an empire. I've told my kids, you know what, if you're not interested, I'll just put this in the ground tomorrow. Like, it's not like this has got to be saved, or I don't even know if I'm building it right to be sold. It's not like I'm building this. I'm not Richard Branson going, okay, I'm creating the airline or whatever. I'm just doing stuff I enjoy doing. I try to keep it positive, inspire people that at least they can get started. Here's some places to get started if you want. You know, I just need enough money to live, and my goals, we like to travel. We spend winters in the Caribbean. That's kind of where I am. I want to go to truck shows. I don't have this long list, because I don't believe in retirement. So that's probably the problem, is I don't think, okay, yeah, when I'm 80, I'm going to just live on my on the throne there. No, like, that's not it. I'm probably working, doing something. I'm just create stuff that could somehow create some income, so we can keep doing it as long as we can, and just enjoy what I'm doing. And you know, some people will go, okay, you've got this. When you don't want to do that anymore, you should hire somebody to do that. And I don't. I just go, okay, we're not doing, look, we phased some stuff out of our business that I'm not even doing anymore, that I was doing 5 years ago. It's not appealing anymore. So it's done. Yeah. You know, I may know somebody I can refer it to, but as far as hiring somebody so I can keep that income, to me, that's babysitting. That's not what I do. And there's a lot of gurus who would say that's wrong mentality. I don't want a large team. My wife and I handle everything here. You know, I could see spots for 1 or 2 more team members down the road, but that's about it. I'm not looking to have an office space with 100 people. Like, I'm not even interested in that. So I don't know if I have a legacy. Sorry if I didn't answer your question.
No, that was a perfect. Honesty is key, right? And I think what you are doing is a legacy every day. You're impacting countless people every day. I don't think you'll ever realize just the positive.
I don't think about that. I don't go, oh, I'm hoping I'm inspiring. I hope I am through my content, but I don't look at myself any better. I'm surprised when I had a lady 2 weeks ago to one of our tour stops, drove an hour to see me. And I was like, you drove an hour to see me? Like, why? It's just me. You could see me on video. But she drove an hour. Like, I was so touched that someone took an hour out of their each way to drive just to say hello to me was just, I don't think of myself as, oh, I'm Bruce, and you should all like applaud. No, that's not what I do. I don't do that at all. I actually am surprised when anybody, but I keep I just keep a younger me in mind, and I keep going, how can I help somebody who's in that position or doing that? And by keeping it positive, I want to show people we've got an awesome trucking industry. I don't care what anybody says. I have loved it. I've worked for great carriers. I've got great friends. I still love the industry, even if I'm not driving in it. I go to all the seminars. People know me. And I love the industry. I want to show that to somebody so they can go, oh, you want to be a truck driver? Get into it, man. You don't have no idea how much this industry can offer you if you just take the step of, and maybe driving's the first step. But once you get past, the driving fuels the rest of it. That's why I like people to drive, and then you will move on to wherever you want to go.
Totally. Yeah. Well, Bruce, thank you so much. This has been inspiring to myself. To our listeners, I know that they're going to definitely go check you out. So I'll include all of your show notes, all of the links in the show notes.
Just put one, you don't have to put them all. But yeah. No one's going to go through and click everyone. I sent them all to you because I didn't know where you wanted to start with your questioning. But you don't have to.
Yeah, you did awesome. I can tell you're an expert in this space. But yeah, thanks so much, Bruce. I really appreciate you hopping on.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and good luck with the show. I know you're, I think around episode 16 to 20 and wherever I've seen you. I can't remember the last number I saw, but keep going, man. You're doing an awesome job.
I appreciate it. Thanks so much, Bruce. Okay, well, have a wonderful day.
All right, you too.
Thanks. Bruce, thank you so much for joining the Truck Focus podcast today. I'm feeling super jacked just from the energy that you bring, the positivity, the just different insights that you share in our industry from quite a few years of experience, from driving to operations to now really rocking it as an entrepreneur in this space. Everyone that's listening, I definitely feel you got value from just the advice that was shared, but most of all, the energy and what is possible in our industry. And it's not just go get a real job. There's tons of opportunities to be successful. And again, new people entering our industry, welcome. Again, Bruce, thank you so much for joining. To learn more about Bruce, as always, I'll include all of his links below, but I highly recommend you check out the Lead Pedal podcast. And just go to www.pedalpodcast.com, or simply check out Bruce Outridge on any major platform, social media, to really anywhere. You're going to find the guy. He's just a real influence. And just thank you again, Bruce, for joining. As always, everyone that just continues to show all the support for the Truck Focus podcast, thank you. I really appreciate this, all of the support, the kind words. I know Avery wasn't on this one, but he also he gets really excited when people say nice things. So yeah, we really appreciate that. If you've not yet subscribed to either our YouTube channel or any of our podcast platforms, we ask that you subscribe. Simply hit the little red button if you're watching this on YouTube, or if you're listening to this on any major podcast platform, just hit the subscribe button, just because the greater the following, the greater the impact. And that's what we're all about. It's connecting people like Bruce to industry, because they're creating that pivotal change. If you ever have a question or a concern, you can always reach out. We're very open on just different conversations. If it's introducing industry experts, if it's a youthful take on transportation, just really appreciate all of the support. So you can always check us out just by visiting our website as well, www.pvtlcompliance.com. And then, you can learn more about our mother company. You can check out the Truck Focus mission. And if you haven't done so already, we're launching something called the Truck Focus newsletter, where we're just using a different medium to introduce industry advice to industry. So I get some people like to watch. That's why we have YouTube. Some people like to listen, which is why we have the podcast. We have our blogs, which is really a little more personal opinions on stuff. And the newsletter is a little more just, you need to talk to this expert. You have a question on insurance, let me connect you with liable. If you have a question on compliance, let me connect you with ARTC. And you'll see a lot of really interesting experts just voicing different pieces of advice through there. So again, all of the links are always included. And again, thank you so much for the support. Have a wonderful day, stay safe, and talk to you soon.